My name is Claire Davidson. I'm 31 years old. And for the longest time, I thought I was the kind of woman who could sense disaster before it touched my life. I was wrong. The morning, everything changed. I was making breakfast in the small kitchen. Ryan and I shared. Nothing dramatic at first. Just eggs in a pan. Toast in the toaster. Sunlight coming through the blinds in pale yellow stripes. Ryan was sitting at the table, turning his coffee mug around and around like there was something written on the ceramic. Only he could read. We had been together for 2 years and living together for 6 months. Not perfect, but stable. Or at least that was the word I used whenever my friends asked about us. Stable. That morning, Ryan said my name in a voice I had never heard before. Claire. I turned, spatula in hand. What? He looked pale. Not nervous? Worse than nervous. Cornered. There's something I need to tell you. I turned off the burner before the eggs burned. Some part of me already knew this was the kind of conversation where ordinary things, breakfast, coffee, clean plates would become witnesses. Ryan swallowed hard. Reese is pregnant. For a second, I honestly thought I had misheard him. Reese Thompson was his ex-girlfriend. The one he claimed was ancient history. The one who still sent him casual texts with too many emojis. The one I had asked about 3 months earlier when I saw her name light up his phone at midnight. Back then, he had laughed and kissed my forehead. You're overthinking. She's just someone I used to know. Now he was sitting in my kitchen, telling me she was pregnant. I put the spatula down slowly. Why are you telling me this? His jaw tightened. Because she says it might be mine. The room went so quiet, I could hear the toaster click. Might be yours, I repeated. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. She said, there's another possibility too. Dylan. A guy from her office. I stared at him. So, your ex-girlfriend is pregnant. And she doesn't know whether the father is you or another man. He closed his eyes. Yes. And the reason you are involved in this, I said carefully, is because you slept with her. He flinched like I had slapped him. It was during our rough patch. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because betrayal always seems to arrive, carrying a cheap excuse. Our rough patch was you being distant and me asking what was wrong. I know. No. Ryan. Our rough patch was not a permission slip. He rubbed both hands over his face. It happened once. Maybe twice. Once. Maybe twice. It sounds awful when you say it like that. How should I say it? His eyes reddened. I'm trying to be honest with you. That sentence did something strange to me. It did not make me angry louder. It made me colder, honest, as if honesty after betrayal was a gift. I pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. Tell me everything. He looked surprised that I was not yelling. Maybe he had prepared for tears. Screaming. Thrown plates. Maybe he thought if I exploded, he could become the calm one, but I gave him nothing. He told me it started about 6 weeks earlier. Reese had called him upset. She felt lonely. She said Dylan was playing games with her. She said she missed how safe Ryan made her feel. Safe. That word landed hard. Apparently, they met for drinks. Then another night. Then things got complicated. He kept saying that phrase, as if complication was something that happened to him instead of something he chose. And you were sleeping with me during this time. I said. His face twisted. Claire, were you? Yes. The answer was small, but it split the room open. I stood and walked to the sink because I needed something solid in front of me. I gripped the counter and watched water drip from the faucet. What does Reese want? She wants a prenatal DNA test when it's possible. And what do you want? He hesitated too long. I want to do the right thing. That was when I looked back at him. No. You want to know which consequence belongs to you. His mouth opened, then closed. I nodded once. Schedule the test. You're not angry. Oh. I'm furious. I said, but anger won't give me facts. His eyes filled with relief too quickly. That was my first clue. Not regret. Relief. He stood and tried to hug me, whispering that he loved me, that he had made a terrible mistake, that I was the only woman he wanted. I let him put his arms around me because I was too stunned to move. Then I excused myself, walked into the bathroom, locked the door, and threw up. That afternoon, while Ryan was at work, I called my brother Ethan. He was a nurse. Practical to the point of brutality. Can a prenatal paternity test happen at 6 weeks? I asked. There was a pause. Why? Just answer. Usually around 9 weeks for a safer blood test. Claire. What's going on? I told him. When I finished, he was silent for 3 seconds. Then he said, "Leave him. I need to know first." No. You don't. If it's his, leave. If it's not his, leave. He cheated either way. I know. Then why are you waiting? I looked around the apartment. Ryan's jacket on the chair. Our framed photo from Lake Tahoe. The blue mug he bought me after our first anniversary because I said I liked the color. Because I need facts. I said, and I need to protect myself. That became my plan. First, I gathered evidence. Ryan had left his laptop open that night. Not smart. But guilty people often become careless when they think they have already confessed the worst part. He had messages with Reese. Nothing graphic at first. Just enough to make my stomach tighten. Thinking of you. Last night felt like old times. Claire doesn't understand you like I do. You always come back to what feels real. Then there were Ryan's replies. I shouldn't have come over, but I wanted to. Don't text when Claire's around. Once, maybe twice. Already. The math was changing. Second, I found Dylan Morrison online. Reese's coworker. Engaged. Smiling in photos beside a woman named Aria Cole. Her hand resting on his chest. A diamond ring, visible under soft sunset light. I called him from my office parking lot. He answered on the third ring. Dylan Morrison. Who is this? My name is Claire Davidson. I'm Ryan Miller's girlfriend. We need to talk about Reese Thompson. He hung up. 5 minutes later, he called back. His voice was lower this time. Panicked. I didn't know she had a boyfriend. She doesn't. She has an ex-boyfriend. She's pregnant by. Maybe. And that ex-boyfriend is my current boyfriend. Silence. Then. What? You didn't know Ryan existed. She said they were done. She said you were just some roommate situation. I almost smiled because the lie was so insulting it became absurd. She lives in my apartment with me. She told me he was emotionally unavailable and moving out soon. Interesting. Dylan started breathing fast. She's pregnant. That's what she says. No. No way. We used protection. How many times? 1 or 2. I closed my eyes. Try again. He exhaled shakily. 4? Maybe 5. There it was. The number that turned Ryan's confession from a broken window into a collapsed house. Does Aria know? I asked. No. Please don't tell her. We're getting married in 4 months. And you were sleeping with Reese? It was a mistake. 4 or 5 mistakes. He had no answer. When I hung up, I sat in my car for a long time, watching people walk in and out of the grocery store, like the world had not just tilted under my feet. Ryan thought I was calm because I was forgiving. He was wrong. I was calm because I was already leaving. The strange thing about betrayal is that it doesn't always arrive like an explosion. Sometimes it sits across from you at dinner and asks if you want extra Parmesan on your pasta. 3 days after Ryan's confession, our apartment looked exactly the same. His running shoes were still by the front door. My favorite blanket was still folded neatly over the couch. The framed photo from our trip to Charleston still sat on the bookshelf, frozen in a version of us that no longer existed. If a stranger had walked into our home, they would have thought we were fine. But every smile felt rehearsed, every touch felt borrowed, and every time Ryan's phone buzzed, I wondered which version of him was answering it. The remorseful boyfriend, the man who slept with his ex, or the coward desperately trying to keep every option available. Ryan had transformed into the ideal partner overnight. He cooked dinner. He folded laundry. He brought me coffee before work. He kissed my forehead before leaving in the mornings. If I didn't know the truth, I might have mistaken it for devotion. Instead, all I saw was fear. He wasn't trying to repair our relationship. He was trying to avoid losing it. That distinction mattered. You've barely touched your food, he said one evening. I looked up from my plate. I'm not very hungry. You haven't really talked to me. I almost laughed. You mean besides discussing the fact that your ex-girlfriend might be carrying your child? His face tightened. I know I don't deserve patience. No. I agreed quietly. You don't. He stared down at his plate. I love you. Claire. The words hung in the air. Months ago, hearing them would have softened me. Now they sounded like currency. An investment. A negotiation. I set my fork down. If Reese wasn't pregnant, I asked, would you have ever told me? Ryan froze. The silence answered before he did. I don't know. There it was. Not yes. Not immediately. Not I was planning to. I don't know. You know what hurts the most, I asked? It isn't even the cheating. His eyes widened. It's realizing I don't know who you've been this entire time. Claire. No. I stood. I knew the man who brought me soup when I had the flu. I pointed toward the hallway. I knew the man who drove 6 hours to help my mother after her surgery. I looked directly at him. I don't know the man who slept with his ex multiple times and hid it until another woman got pregnant. Tears gathered in his eyes. I made a mistake. No, I said softly. Mistakes happen once. The apartment fell silent. He didn't argue, because even he knew there was a difference. That night, after Ryan fell asleep on the couch, pretending exhaustion had claimed him, my phone lit up. Dylan Morrison. I stepped onto the balcony before answering. Hello. He sounded frantic. She's texting me. Reese. Constantly. What does she want? She wants reassurance. He let out a bitter laugh. She says she's scared. I wrapped my arms around myself against the cool night air. What else? A pause. She told me not to panic, because even if the baby is mine, Ryan will probably step up. My stomach dropped. What? She said Ryan's a good guy. His voice grew quieter. He'll do the right thing. Safe. Again. The safe guy. Except this time, it wasn't Ryan being described. It was Ryan being used. And somehow, despite everything, I hated that for him. I hated what he'd done. But I also hated the way Reese had reduced people to backup plans. You should tell Arya, I said. He groaned. Please don't. You cheated on your fiancé. I know. You've stolen her right to choose. Silence. Then, I can't lose her. I stared into the darkness beyond the balcony railing. You should have thought about that before. He inhaled shakily. Can I send you screenshots? Yes. Within minutes. My phone filled with messages. Risa, you're different from Ryan. You challenge me. Claire doesn't understand him. He's comfortable. You're exciting. I just need to figure out what I really want. Another, no matter what happens, Ryan would never abandon me. Another, if Dylan works out, great. If not, I still have stability. I stopped reading. My hands shook. Comfort. Excitement. Stability. People weren't human beings, Therese. They were insurance policies. I suddenly understood something terrifying. Ryan hadn't simply cheated. He had convinced himself he was special, while volunteering to be someone's contingency plan. The next morning, Reese called Ryan. While I sat across from him drinking coffee, he answered immediately. Hey. His voice softened. I watched him. He noticed, straightened, cleared his throat. Yeah. Claire's here. He glanced toward me. What? A pause. Okay. He hung up. What did she want? Ryan hesitated. She asked if we could postpone the DNA test. I stared. Why? He rubbed the back of his neck. She said she's been thinking, and she doesn't think it matters. I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound startled even me. It doesn't matter. She says families are built through love. I leaned back. That's convenient. It upset me too. Did it? He looked offended. You think I'd raise another man's child without knowing? I looked at him carefully. You tell me. His expression shifted. What? Then guilt. Then shame. I don't know what I would have done. He admitted, but now, his eyes found mine. I need the truth. I nodded once. Good. Later that afternoon, Reese came to our apartment. The first thing I noticed was how beautiful she was. The second thing I noticed was how exhausted she looked. She sat on our couch, clutching tissues. You hate me, she whispered. I remained standing. I don't know you well enough to hate you. She flinched. I never wanted this. You accidentally slept with multiple men. Tears spilled down her cheeks. It wasn't like that. Then explain. She looked at Ryan instead of me. Tell her. He swallowed hard. Reese. You know I loved you. I saw Ryan's shoulders stiffen. Love it. Past tense. Present tense. Maybe even she didn't know. You told me Claire wasn't emotionally available. Reese said. I blinked. What? Ryan's eyes widened. I never said that. Yes. You did. No. I didn't. You said she was distant. I said we argued. You said she didn't understand you. I said relationships get difficult. Their voices rose. For the first time, I simply watched, and what I saw horrified me. Neither of them knew the truth anymore. Each had rewritten reality to justify choices they'd already made. Reese turned toward me. I know how this looks. I folded my arms. Then we're making progress. She sobbed. I just don't want to do this alone. The words pierced me, despite myself, because beneath the manipulation and lies sat a frightened woman facing uncertainty. Fear made people desperate. Desperation made people selfish. Neither erased accountability. You aren't alone. I said, you have your sister. You have friends. You have Ryan. Her eyes brightened. Hope? I crushed it immediately. But that doesn't mean you get to decide who sacrifices themselves for your comfort. Silence. Ryan stared at me. Reese looked devastated. Finally, she whispered. When the test proves Ryan's the father. I raised an eyebrow. Then what? You'll owe us an apology. For a moment, I genuinely thought I'd misheard. Excuse me, you've treated us like criminals. Us. The word echoed through the apartment. Ryan visibly recoiled. You cheated with my boyfriend. I said quietly. You admitted another man could be the father. And I need to apologize for wanting facts. Fresh tears streamed down her face. You don't understand. No. I agreed. I really don't. Because somewhere along the way, Reese had convinced herself that honesty after betrayal erased betrayal itself. And that was perhaps the most frightening part of all. After she left, Ryan found me standing alone in our bedroom. Do you think she's a bad person? He asked. I looked at him. I think people become dangerous when they believe their intentions matter more than their actions. He lowered his gaze. Do you think I'm dangerous? I looked at the man I'd once imagined marrying, the man who knew exactly how I took my coffee, the man who had broken my heart without ever raising his voice. I think, I said softly, that you're finally meeting the version of yourself you've spent years avoiding. The DNA appointment was scheduled for the following morning. Ryan thought it would give him answers. Reese thought it would give her security. Dylan prayed it would give him an escape. What none of them knew was that I had made a few phone calls of my own, and by the time we walked into that clinic, every person involved would finally be forced to face the truth. I barely slept the night before the appointment. Ryan tossed and turned beside me, occasionally reaching for my hand in the darkness, as if physical contact could somehow bridge the distance between us. I let him hold my fingers once. Then I gently pulled away. The woman lying next to him looked like Claire Davidson, but she wasn't the same woman who had trusted him blindly 2 weeks earlier. At 3 a.m, I sat alone at the kitchen table with a mug of untouched tea and reviewed everything one last time. Screenshots from Dylan, messages from Reese, timeline notes, the lease agreement for my new apartment. I had signed it 2 days earlier. Test or not test, father or not, I was leaving. The DNA results wouldn't decide my future. They would simply close the last legal door Ryan could walk through and claim confusion. By 6:30, Ryan appeared in the kitchen. You've been up all night. Pretty much. You okay? I looked at him. No. He nodded slowly. Fair. He poured himself coffee. I know you probably hate me. I don't hate you. His eyes lifted. I hate what you did. He looked down again. I wish I could take it back. So do I. Because even now, I wished I had been wrong about him. I wished this had been a misunderstanding. I wished we'd been fighting about bills or chores or whose turn it was to take out the trash. Instead, we were driving to determine whether his ex-girlfriend's unborn child belonged to him. Nothing about that felt survivable. The drive to the clinic was quiet. Ryan attempted conversation twice before giving up. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windshield. Gray skies, gray roads, gray futures. It felt appropriate. Reese was already waiting in the lobby when we arrived. She stood quickly the moment she saw Ryan. Her face brightened. Then she noticed me. The smile disappeared. Claire. Reese. Ryan shifted awkwardly between us. You okay? He asked Reese. She nodded too quickly. I just want this over with. I wondered if that was true, or if she wanted reassurance more than truth. The receptionist checked us in. Reese clutched Ryan's arm. I've been thinking... Ryan stiffened. What? Her eyes flickered toward me. Maybe after today, we can all move forward. I said nothing. She interpreted silence as permission, even if things aren't perfect. Families work through difficult situations. Ryan gently removed her hand from his arm. Let's just get the results first. For the first time since we'd arrived, disappointment flashed across her face. Then the nurse appeared, Reese Thompson. We followed her down the hallway. The examination room smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender hand soap. The nurse reviewed paperwork while Reese sat nervously on the examination table. Then she looked up. Mr. Mila. Ryan nodded. We'll collect your blood sample as well. She paused while reviewing the chart. Oh. What Reese asked. The nurse frowned slightly. There's a note indicating another potential father. The room went silent. Reese's head snapped toward Ryan. What? Ryan looked confused. I spoke before anyone else could. Actually, I reached into my purse. I took care of that. Reese stared at me. What does that mean? Before I answered, there was a knock at the door. The nurse opened it. Miss Davidson. I stood. They're here. Reese frowned. They. I looked directly at her. You wanted clarity? Then Dylan Morrison walked into the room. Behind him, Arya Cole. Dylan looked like he was heading toward his own execution. Arya looked composed enough to terrify everyone. What is she doing here? Reese snapped. Dylan avoided her eyes. I told her. You what? I told Arya everything. Reese stood so quickly, the nurse had to steady her. You had no right. Arya laughed softly. No right? Her voice was calm. You've been sleeping with my fiancé. She looked Reese up and down. You lost the privilege of deciding what rights other people have. The room exploded. You don't understand, Reese began. Oh. I understand perfectly. Arya interrupted. You knew he was engaged. I didn't at first, but you continued after finding out. Reese's silence answered. Arya nodded. Thought so. Ryan stared at Dylan. You told her. Dylan looked miserable. I couldn't lie anymore. I almost admired the timing. Not the integrity. The timing. Because guilt had finally become less painful than secrecy. Dr. Martinez entered moments later, an elegant woman in her 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes. She surveyed the room, then blinked. I see emotions are running high. No one laughed. Doctor. Martinez cleared her throat. For accuracy. We'll collect blood samples from all potential fathers. She glanced between Ryan and Dylan. Any questions? Reese pointed at me. She ambushed me. Doctor. Martinez folded her hands. Miss Thompson. Paternity testing exists to establish truth. Her voice remained gentle. Truth rarely feels convenient. That shut Reese up. For a while, blood samples were collected, paperwork completed, signatures obtained. No one spoke much afterward, until Arya finally broke the silence. By the way, everyone looked at her. She smiled coldly. I'm 3 months pregnant. The room froze. Dylan's face drained of color. Reese blinked. What? Arya looked directly at Reese. So congratulations. Her smile sharpened. Your baby might have had a half-sibling. Reese looked physically ill. Ryan buried his face in his hands. I closed my eyes briefly. The collateral damage extended farther than I'd realized. Doctor. Martinez eventually dismissed us. Results would arrive within the week. Those 7 days felt endless. Ryan tried repeatedly to repair things between us. I'll do counseling. I'll give you access to everything. I'll spend the rest of my life earning back your trust. Every offer came too late. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. Meanwhile, Reese called constantly. Sometimes Ryan answered. Sometimes he didn't. Ons. I overheard her crying through the speaker. I'm scared. Ryan closed his eyes. I know. I need someone. Silence. Then, you should call your sister. Not me. Not us. Jesusta. For the first time. He established a boundary. Too late. But real. Finally. 1 week later. We returned to the clinic. Ryan sat beside me in the waiting room. His knee bounced relentlessly. Across from us sat Reese. Beside her sat Dylan. Arya occupied the chair furthest away. Nobody made eye contact. Dr. Martinez entered holding a file. Her expression wasn't what I expected. Not sympathy. Not concern. Surprise. She closed the door. Thank you all for coming. No one responded. Reese crossed her arms. Can you just tell us, Dr. Martinez looked down at the report, then up. Mr. Milla. Ryan gripped the armrest. You are not the biological father. He inhaled sharply. Beside me. Relief and devastation collided in equal measure. Then, Mr. Morrison. Dylan leaned forward. You are also not the biological father. What Dylan shouted. That's impossible. Arya's eyes widened. Ryan stared. Reese shot to her feet. No. Doctor. Martinez remained composed. The results are accurate. You need to retest, Reese yelled. There has to be a mistake. Doctor. Martinez raised her voice. There is more. The room quieted instantly. Reese sat down again. Slowly. Doctor. Martinez took a breath. Miss Thompson. Her tone softened. Your blood work revealed evidence of a chemical pregnancy. What? A very early miscarriage. The color drained from Reese's face. The pregnancy was not viable. No. The home pregnancy test likely detected HCG during a brief window. Tears filled Reese's eyes. I had symptoms. Stress and hormonal fluctuations can mimic pregnancy symptoms. So, Dylan whispered. There's no baby, Doctor? Martinez nodded. There is no ongoing pregnancy. Relief flooded Dylan's face. Arya exhaled shakily. Ryan looked stunned. But Dr. Martinez wasn't finished. Although the pregnancy was not viable, she glanced at Reese. We successfully analyzed fetal DNA. Silence. Then, neither Mr. Milla nor Mr. Morrison is the biological father. The room stopped breathing. I looked at Reese. For the first time since meeting her, she looked completely lost. Dr. Martinez lowered the report. The father was someone else. No one moved. No one spoke. Then I asked quietly, who else? Reese. She shook her head. Who else? Fresh tears spilled. There was someone at a conference. Ryan stared. Dylan closed his eyes. Arya whispered. Oh my God. I held Reese's haze. How many people were there? I don't know. You don't know. It was March. Her voice cracked. We were drinking. Anyone else? She sobbed harder. I can't remember. The silence that followed felt heavier than any scream. Because betrayal had finally exhausted its excuses, and all that remained was truth. No one moved after Reese's confession. The examination room felt too small to contain the wreckage scattered across it. Ryan sat beside me, staring at the floor, as though the answer might somehow rearrange itself if he looked hard enough. Dylan looked physically sick. Arya remained perfectly still, and Reese had dissolved into tears. There was a conference, she whispered again. Her mascara had streaked down her cheeks, leaving dark tracks against pale skin. It was after one of the presentations. Everyone was drinking. I didn't think... You didn't think Dylan asked? He laughed once. The sound held no humor. You've used that excuse for everything. I didn't know this would happen. No, Arya said quietly. You just assumed someone else would clean it up. The words landed with brutal precision. Reese looked toward Ryan, then toward me. Finally, she settled her gaze on Ryan. You understand? Don't you? Ryan lifted his head. For the first time since this nightmare had begun, there was no softness in his expression. No, he said. His voice wasn't angry. It was tired. I really don't. Tears streamed faster down Reese's face. I was scared. You were dishonest? I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You did anyway. She stared at him. I loved you. Ryan's jaw tightened. If that's how you love people? Please. He stopped himself, then shook his head. I don't want the rest of that sentence to exist. The room went quiet. Dr. Martinez carefully closed the file. I know today's events have been emotionally difficult. No one corrected her. Emotionally difficult. What an elegant phrase for an explosion. I strongly recommend counseling for everyone involved. Arya almost smiled. Everyone involved, Dr. Martinez met her gaze kindly. Trauma affects people differently. Arya looked away first. We're done here, she said softly. She stood. Dylan immediately rose after her. Arya. She held up a hand. No. Please. I need air. Her eyes found mine. For the first time since we'd met. The anger softened. You okay? I thought about it. No. She nodded. Me neither. Then she left. Dylan hesitated before following her, like a man chasing the last train home. Reese remained frozen in her chair. Ryan looked at her, then looked away. I stood. We should go. Outside. The sky had finally cleared. Sunlight reflected off windshields in the parking lot, making everything too bright. Too normal. Reese caught up with us before we reached the car. Ryan. He stopped walking. Can we talk? I expected him to hesitate. Instead, he said quietly, Claire, could you give us a minute? I looked at him. The old Claire would have agreed without question. The new Claire considered her own peace first. You have 5 minutes. I stepped several feet away, far enough to grant privacy, close enough not to disappear. Reese grabbed Ryan's arm. I lost a baby. Ryan looked down at where her fingers touched him. You had a chemical pregnancy. It still mattered. I know. His voice softened slightly. I am sorry for that. Hope flashed across her face. But, he continued, gently removing her hand, that doesn't erase everything else. You can't leave me like this. You weren't mine to lose. Ryan. You lied to me. Tears filled her eyes again. I was confused. You slept with multiple people. I didn't mean for this to happen. You told Dylan Claire and I were practically over. You told me you missed me. His voice cracked. You made me believe I was special. You were. Ryan closed his eyes. No. When he opened them again, something had changed. You just needed me to be available. Reese looked stunned. You don't mean that? I think I finally do. She reached toward him again. Please. I need someone. Ryan glanced at me, then back at Reese. You need help. The distinction mattered. You don't need me. He walked away. I had never seen Reese speechless before. By the time Ryan reached the car, she remained standing exactly where he'd left her. Small, alone, human. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt sadness. Not because of what she'd done, because she had become someone who confused attention with love. On the drive home, Ryan didn't speak. Neither did I. When we reached the apartment, he finally said, How long have you known? Known what? That we were over. I looked out the passenger window. I think part of me knew the moment you admitted sleeping with her. You stayed. I needed facts. He nodded. You already signed a lease. Didn't you? I turned toward him. His eyes widened slightly. You did. 2 days before the test. He laughed bitterly. So there was never any chance. I considered that there might have been. His head snapped toward me. If you'd confessed immediately. If there hadn't been lies, layered on top of lies. If I'd recognized the man I thought I loved. I swallowed. But every truth came from someone else. Ryan looked away. You deserved better. I know. He smiled sadly. You really do. The next morning, While Ryan was at work, I moved. Most of the furniture belonged to me. The dishes, the television, the bookshelves, the dining table we'd picked out together. I left behind his clothes, his gaming console, his coffee maker, and the couch he'd insisted on buying, despite my objections, because it had been on sale. I also left a note: rent is paid through the end of the month. After that, it's your responsibility. I wish things had been different. Take care of yourself. Claire. He called 14 times before noon. I answered once. You left. Yes. I'm sorry. I know. I love you. The silence stretched. Then I said, I believe you. His breathing hitched, but love without integrity becomes collateral damage. He started crying. I ended the call. 2 weeks later, the fallout intensified. Reese posted a lengthy social media statement about being abandoned after a miscarriage. Sympathetic comments poured in, until Arya replied publicly. Every detail, the affair, the DNA results, the third man, the conference, the lies, within hours. Reese deleted every account. 3 days after that, she appeared at my workplace. I was leaving a meeting when I heard shouting in reception. Claire. I froze. Security stepped between us. You ruined my life. I stared at her. You made choices. You think you're perfect? No. Then why does everyone blame me? I looked at the woman whose entire world had collapsed. Because accountability isn't persecution. Security escorted her outside. My boss later knocked on my office door. You need some time off. I blinked. What? He smiled sympathetically. Office gossip travels fast. I laughed for the first time in weeks, maybe a few days. Take the week. Meanwhile, Dylan and Arya remained together. Sort of. Mutual acquaintances reported couples counseling. Strict transparency. A wedding postponed indefinitely. Apparently, Arya had informed Dylan that trust wasn't a gift. It was a privilege requiring maintenance. As for Reese's mysterious conference man, 1 month after the clinic chaos, I received a text from an unknown number. This is Monica, Derek's wife. I heard you knew Reese. Can we talk? We met for coffee. Monica arrived, carrying a thick envelope. Receipts, she said. Literal receipts. Champagne. Room service for 2. Conference hotel charges. Spa appointments. They said it was one drunken mistake. Monica said, I looked at the paperwork. You don't order breakfast in bed for a mistake. She laughed sadly. I'm filing for divorce. I'm sorry. No. She squared her shoulders. I'm grateful for the truth. By the time we parted ways, I realized something. Pain shared honestly can become healing. Pain hidden becomes poison. It's been a month since everything exploded. My new apartment is smaller, quieter, peaceful. No secrets hiding in unlocked devices. No midnight texts. No wondering whether loyalty means the same thing to both people. Just silence. And healing? Last night, Ryan sent one final message. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but losing you showed me who I've become. I'm trying to change that person. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I replied, I hope you become someone you're proud of. But I can't be the woman who waits while you figure that out. I blocked his number afterward. Sometimes people ask whether I regret leaving, whether I should have given him another chance. Another chance to rebuild. Another chance to prove himself. I always answer the same way. The DNA test didn't end my relationship. The betrayal did. The test simply exposed how many people were standing in the ruins. The biggest lesson, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Not the version they promise they'll become. Not the version they remember being. The version standing in front of you. Because love isn't measured by how much pain you're willing to tolerate. It's measured by mutual respect, by honesty, by choosing each other, especially when no one is watching. This morning, sunlight poured through my apartment windows while I made breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee, simple things, ordinary things. I stood in my quiet kitchen and realized something unexpected. I hadn't lost the love of my life. I had survived the wrong one. And for the first time in a very long while, peace tasted better than hope.